the scene. It's just devastating to even picture. A hotel balcony in Buenos Aires. The first reports are chaotic, cameras flashing everywhere.
Total chaos. And then the news breaks. October 16th, 2024. That familiar smile of Liam Payne, the one from One Direction, it's just gone, replaced by this global tragedy.
And it became so much more than a celebrity death, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It was a reckoning. It forced everyone from fans to music industry CEOs to look at the dark side of that relentless high-pressure machine.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. You've shared the sources, and our mission today is to cut through all that noise, to really give you the context around this pop culture shockwave. We're diving into the story behind that headline. Liam Payne's death sparks industry reckoning.
Yeah, we're going to look at the grim details of his final days, the mental health and substance abuse issues he faced, and this huge, almost revolutionary pushback from fans against the corporate side of Hollywood.
So let's start with what we know for sure, the confirmed factors. Alcohol, antidepressants, and this terrifying substance called pink cocaine.
The basic facts are tragic. Liam Payne died at 31 after a fall from his hotel room. And authorities, they quickly confirmed alcohol and other substances were involved.
But the toxicology report specifically named pink cocaine, or 2C.
Exactly. And that detail is, well, it's chilling. It points to something far beyond casual use.
I think we need to pause on that because most people have probably never heard of 2C. What is it?
Right, and it's crucial. It isn't traditional cocaine. It's this dangerous, unpredictable cocktail. Street versions can be a mix of anything, really meth, MDMA, ketamine.
So you have no idea what you're actually taking?
None. And it's often linked to that high-end clubbing scene, the kind of late-night environment that fuels the whole touring lifestyle. It just underscores how severe his struggle was behind the scenes.
Especially since he'd been so open about it. He talked about being 100 days sober, about therapy, about going to rehab.
He did. And that's what's so interesting about the immediate reaction. It wasn't just shock. It was a conversation about media dignity.
I mean, his family's statement.
Yes. His former partner, Cheryl, put out this plea. It was heartbreaking. She begged for consideration, saying she was terrified their young son would one day find all the abhorrent reports and media exploitation online.
God, the thought of your kid Googling that, it's awful. And his bandmates, they seemed just as raw.
Completely. They released a joint statement asking for time, and Zayn Malik, he just immediately postponed his entire U.S. tour.
And other celebrities started speaking out too.
Yeah, people who have been through that same machine. Robbie Williams urged for compassion, saying, "We don't know what's going on in people's lives." Even Simon Cowell paused filming Britain's Got Talent auditions.
That's a big gesture. But this combination of issues, the mental health struggles and the severe substance use, it really points to a dual diagnosis, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And the sources are clear on this. These are complex issues that need long-term care, not a quick fix.
And that seems to be the core failure here.
100%. The tragedy just throws a spotlight on these short-term solutions, like a brief stint in rehab. We've seen it with Philip Seymour Hoffman, with Whitney Houston, with Matthew Perry. The system is built to get stars back to work, back to being productive.
Right. It sacrifices that long-term support they actually need to recover.
Exactly. The short-term fix just isn't enough to survive in that kind of environment.
And that takes us from the immediate shock to the political reaction that followed. The grief turned into a full-blown movement.
It did. A movement demanding accountability.
If you're tracking these ripple effects in celebrity culture, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're about to get into the legislative pushback that nobody saw coming. Okay, so this public response brings us to our second segment. The uprising and the call for Liam's law.
The fan response was just, Brett, it was incredible. Within hours, a petition for something called Liam's Law was already circulating online.
And it took off. We're talking more than 68,000 signatures in just 5 days.
And their demands were so specific. They wanted enforced access to mental health professionals, regular check-ins, and, crucially, guaranteed rest periods for artists.
This is where it connects from a personal tragedy to a wider systemic problem, because the academic consensus is already there.
It is. Sources cite studies that classify musicians as an at-risk occupational group for suicide. They suffer from depression and anxiety at a rate 3 times higher than the general population.
3 times. That's just an insane multiplier.
It's staggering. And if you look at the younger demographic, it's even worse. About 73% of independent musicians report struggling with mental illness. For the 18 to 25 age group, it's up to 80%.
80%. And that's the age when they're getting signed, when the pressure's at its highest.
Exactly.
So why is it so toxic? From the outside, it looks like the dream job.
I know, but the reality is constant financial instability and these chaotic work patterns. The touring lifestyle seems glamorous.
Private jets, big arenas.
Right. But it's physically draining. It's constant setup, bad sleep on a tour bus, terrible diet, isolation. There's just no time built in for self-care, for maintaining any kind of normal life.
So it's basically a gig economy with this massive emotional weight attached. And the industry just prioritizes profit over the person.
They treat the celebrity as a commodity. And for someone like Liam, who was groomed for this from such a young age, it was 14 when he first auditioned, 16 when he became a global star. That pressure is just immense.
And the sources point out that this affects everyone, right? It's not just male artists.
That's right. Research shows that female musicians actually face an even higher suicide risk compared to the general female population.
Why is that?
Because they're often dealing with all the same pressures, plus widespread sexism, bullying, and coercion within the industry. The job itself is it's a toxic environment.
Which is why something like Liam's Law feels so necessary. It's about forcing the industry to value emotional honesty over that perfect facade they demand.
It's about making mental health a protected legal requirement of the workplace.
And that leads us to the man who really shaped that world. While the fans were demanding protection, Simon Cowell was forced to defend himself.
He was, yeah. He was pushed into a corner, publicly.
Okay, let's dive into that, our final segment. The corporate maze and Simon Cowell's defense. The headline here is his quote, "You can't do that."
Yeah, in the face of all this public anger, Cowell was very firm in denying responsibility. He said you would just torture yourself thinking you were responsible for something that happened a decade after you signed someone.
He's basically drawing a line in the sand, saying, I was the catalyst, not the lifelong guardian.
But that's the ethical question, isn't it? When does the responsibility of the system's creator actually end?
And he did admit he's spoken to Liam about a year before his death.
He did, and the advice he gave was, well, it was telling. He urged him to put his life before his career. He said, music is not everything. Don't let it run your life anymore.
That's pretty poignant advice. But it's also the kind of thing you say to someone you know is really, really struggling.
Exactly. It shows that even if the legal contract was over, the knowledge of his vulnerability wasn't.
And that's where the whole corporate structure gets really murky.
It is. The theory in our sources is that the One Direction members, they aren't actually free, even now. They're still tied into these complex legal and financial structures.
Okay, can you break that down? They left Cowell's label, Sicko.
They did, but Sicko was under Sony Music. When they left, they just moved to other labels like RCA or Columbia, which are also under Sony. You're just trading one office for another inside the same mega corporation.
So the financial strings are still attached.
Always. And you're still sharing the same powerful PR agents, the same lawyers, and then there's the publishing deal.
The publishing rights went to Universal Music Publishing Group, UMPG, where Simon Cowell is now based.
And that's where the real long-term money is. So while he might not control their recording career day to day, he's still operating within the same financial network that profits from their image. It's control through money, not management.
So the theory is that their public image is still managed, still controlled. There's still commodities.
Yes, and we have proof of that. The sources mention the cleanliness clauses Harry Styles talked about signing early on. These contracts govern their behavior, their public image, everything. They were trained from the start to be clean and profitable.
The fact that they still share the same PR agents years later, it suggests that the price of that initial fame is a total loss of autonomy. Forever.
And it brings us right back to the central problem. How can we possibly expect artists to look after their mental health when the entire corporate machine sees their well-being as secondary to the bottom line?
The very structures that build them up are the same ones that break them down. It's tragic.
It is. The question is whether the industry will actually change now.
What really stands out to me is this deep fundamental contrast.
What's that?
The mental health crisis among musicians versus the incredible therapeutic power of music itself.
That's a profound point. We know music saves people. Our sources mention the rapper Logic song, the one titled with the suicide prevention hotline number.
Right. It led to a measurable increase in calls to the hotline. It literally saved lives.
So the question we want to leave you with is this. Can the art form that saves millions of listeners also save the artists who create it? Or are the demands of the modern music industry just fundamentally incompatible with long-term human well-being.
Is it even possible to be a global superstar and psychologically whole in the current system? That's something to think about.
You've been listening to The Deep Dive, where we uncover the stories shaping Hollywood music and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in.
And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.